How did ancient humans identify the father before DNA tests, birth certificates, or awkward "we need to talk" conversations? You probably think they just stared at the baby and said, "Yep, same forehead." But no, ancient fatherhood was way messier, smarter, and sometimes more dramatic than that. Fatherhood was not only biology, it was survival politics. Go back 40,000 years. No hospitals, no calendars, no tiny apps saying, "Your baby is due in 9 months." Just caves, fires, spears, mammoths, and everyone knowing everyone's business. The shocking part? A child's father was often identified less by science and more by who stayed close to the mother, shared food, protected the child, and was accepted by the group. Think about modern life. Today people ask for proof. Ancient people asked a harder question. Who is acting like the father? Because in a world where one bad winter could kill you, the dad was not just the man who created the baby. He was the man who showed up with food, protection, and patience. And if that sounds unfair, remember this. Ancient humans did not live in private little houses. They lived in small groups. Everybody watched everything. Romance was not private. It was basically a campfire reality show with worse lighting. The first clue was timing. Ancient humans did not need a biology textbook to notice patterns. They saw that pregnancy followed intimacy, and after many generations, humans connected the dots. Maybe not with perfect science, but enough to create rules around mating, jealousy, pair bonds, and family. This is where it gets wild. Some hunter-gatherer groups were small, maybe 25 to 50 people. No privacy, no locked bedroom, no mind your business. Your business was everyone's evening entertainment. So if a woman spent time with one man and months later had a baby, the group had a strong guess, not proof. A guess backed by memory, gossip, and awkward staring. And ancient gossip was powerful. Imagine your entire village being one giant group chat, except nobody can mute it. If someone disappeared with someone near the river, the whole camp knew before sunset. Was it always accurate? Absolutely not. Ancient gossip had confidence, not DNA. But confidence was enough to build a family. In a world without tests, the father was often the most likely man, the most present man, or the man everyone agreed should take responsibility. The second clue was resemblance. Ancient people basically invented the first terrible family comment. "Wow, he has your eyebrows." People have always searched babies for familiar faces. Same hair, same nose, same angry forehead. It feels natural because your brain loves patterns, even when the baby just looks like a potato. But here is the twist. Resemblance is not reliable. Newborns change fast. A baby can look like one person on Monday and like a boiled mushroom by Friday. Still, resemblance mattered because it gave the group a story, and stories held families together. Modern people still do this. A baby is born, and suddenly the room turns into a courtroom. Grandma says, "That's his chin." Auntie says, "No, that's her mouth." Somebody who has not slept in 2 days says, "It looks like the uncle." Chaos. Ancient humans used faces because faces were visible, but they also used behavior. Did the man bring meat? Did he sleep near the mother and child? Did he protect them when danger came? Did he teach the child how to hold a spear without poking himself in the foot? That mattered because fatherhood was not just a label. It was labor. A father who did nothing was almost useless. A man who cared, carried, taught, and shared food became important even without perfect certainty. The big reveal: in many ancient societies, the father was not always the most certain biological man. It was often the man publicly responsible for the child, the one who fed them, protected them, taught them tools, stood between them and a very rude hyena. This is the shareable fact. Before fatherhood became paperwork, fatherhood was a promise. If the group saw a man caring for a child, that relationship became real. Social fatherhood could matter as much as biological fatherhood. Why? Because a baby cannot survive on genetics. A baby survives on milk, fire, warmth, protection, and sleep-deprived adults. Now here is the part that sounds almost fake. Some cultures believed a child could have more than one fatherly source, not stepdad in the modern sense. They believed more than one man could help form or support the child. Strange to us? Maybe. But socially, it created a powerful result. More men could feel responsible. Think about that. Modern life often asks, who is the real dad? Ancient life sometimes asked, who will help this child survive? That is a completely different question, and survival was brutal. If the mother got sick, the child needed others. If the father died hunting, the child needed others. If food disappeared, the child needed others. So ancient fatherhood was not just romance. It was backup planning with spears. So ancient humans did not always identify the father like a modern court case. Sometimes they identified the father by the man's actions. Sometimes by the mother's relationship. Sometimes by the group's agreement. Sometimes by resemblance. And sometimes by a bigger idea. This child belongs to the community. But that leads to the final twist. So how did ancient humans identify the father? They used timing, resemblance, community memory, public relationships, and most of all, responsibility. They did not have DNA tests, but they had eyes. They had gossip. They had survival pressure. And they had a brutal truth modern life sometimes forgets. A father was not only identified by the past, he was proven by the future. Today we chase certainty. Ancient humans chased commitment, because back then, the question was not only whose baby is this, it was who is willing to keep this baby alive. And honestly, that might be the oldest definition of fatherhood. Comment what shocked you most: the gossip, the resemblance guessing, or the idea that fatherhood was a promise. Then watch the next video about how ancient humans raised children without schools, doctors, or baby monitors.